Welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes and challenges, and what's really driving them forward. And today I'm really delighted to have with us Duncan Morter, who's the Managing Director at Crombie Wilkinson Solicitors. And Duncan, thanks so much for spending a little bit of time with us to talk about yourself and Crombie's. And if you'd just like to start by introducing yourself and Crombie's to the audience, that would be great.
Thanks, Chris. That's a pleasure. Nice to join you. Yeah, I'm Duncan Morter, Managing Director at Crombie Wilkinson. I actually started with the firm when I qualified. So I've worked at the firm since 1999, and I've worked my way up through all the different various stages up to Managing Director, which is a great opportunity to see the firm from all angles. We've got 4 offices. We're one of the largest firms in North Yorkshire. We cover most of the areas that you would expect: property, commercial and residential. We do family work, we do probate and wills, we do employment, and we do dispute resolution. So I'm happy to act for anybody in North Yorkshire or beyond.
Brilliant. Wonderful, thank you. That's great, and I can personally recommend you as well because I've worked with you previously myself. So maybe if we could just start this thinking about your background, obviously, and how you came to be where you are. You've mentioned a little bit already, but that sounds quite a journey.
Well, it is. I mean, I grew up in a professional household, as you might call it. My dad was a chartered accountant, so in some ways, a professional career was always a possibility. I'm a big musician in my spare time, having said that, and I did a music degree. So music was another potential career for me. But I always had an interest in law, even during school. I did work experience in a law firm when I was about 15, and I just had that interest at the back of my mind. So law was where I ended up, and I haven't ever regretted that, I have to say.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so it was music or law, but law one, which is
out. But actually, I do a lot of music in my spare time, so I still have both of those interests running. Yeah,
wonderful. And you mentioned obviously it was your first position was joining Crombie Wilkinson. You've gone all the way through that journey. What are some of the things what are some of the things you've learned along that sort of journey?
Well, it's been quite an interesting time. If you think 1999, when I joined, the iPhone hadn't been invented for a start. Yes. And actually, really, the internet hadn't properly taken hold. I didn't have a computer on my desk, and that's only 1999. So it was all done on paper. I was dictating letters onto a tape. So I've actually seen, I sound a bit ancient saying this, but I've seen that journey from pre-internet and pre-iPhone to where we are now, where we all know where we are now. And I have had to sort of grow up, as it were, as those changes have taken place. So that has been sort of fascinating. It's almost 25 years to observe all that. So that's the first thing. Technology has really changed in my working career. So that's the first thing. The firm's changed. It's double the size it was when I started. Some things don't change. Clients have the same problems, the same requirements from us. We have the same desire to provide an excellent service and be personable and efficient and professional. So actually the fundamentals haven't changed, and that's been also interesting to observe. At the end of the day, those things don't change. You've got to do a good job promptly, on time, on budget for your client. That doesn't change.
Perfect. That makes perfect sense. I'm interested actually. I remember we talked for quite a long time ago, and I remember there was this significant change in your industry going back probably 12 to 14 years ago, where ownership of law firms didn't have to be by lawyers, and there was quite a lot of concern about how that would pan out. What how did you see that happening, and what changes has that created in your industry, if any?
Well, it's really interesting because at the time, the traditional law firm model seemed to be under threat because people like Tesco's and the Co-op were saying, right, we're going to go into law now, because you could have, as you say, non-solicitors could own law firms. That was the change that came about. And we all thought, oh my God, Tesco's so much more efficient. They got the marketing, they got the customer base, they got the premises. They're just going to wipe the floor with us, It actually never happened. As people know, you don't go to Tesco's, do you, to make your will, or if somebody's died, or if you're getting divorced. You don't do that. So actually, the personal sort of professional-led service that clients wanted is what they still want now. Thank goodness, I've got to say, from my point of view. So that never happened. But the interesting side effect of this change, which was that non-lawyers could now be partners in law firms, is that we are, interestingly enough, are just opening up our sort of career progression path within the firm to non-lawyers. Because why should you just have lawyers who are partners? You know, there's really good people in law firms who are finance managers or IT or something else, or actually even people who are doing legal work but are not actually solicitors. They've got other qualifications, and it's brilliant to be able to be a modern law firm which now says to its staff, anybody who is good and wants to progress can progress up to partnership at Crombie Wilkinson. Actually, not many firms say that, I've got to say. I do like to think we're at the leading edge of that, but we now have non-solicitor partners.
Great.
That's the side effect of that. What seemed to be a threat when it came out 10 years ago, this change in the law, we've actually taken the advantage of that and made this career path more open.
Brilliant. Well, so that's really fascinating, because I do remember it was perceived as potentially a very, very negative change, and it's actually had a positive outcome. Isn't that cool?
In an unexpected way at the time. We didn't see that when it came out. We just thought, oh no, you know, the end is nigh, you know, for law firms.
That's really fascinating. It's funny how those things kind of turn out in that way.
Yeah.
And looking back over this whole period, obviously we've had some quite recent challenges. But what are some of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome as you've grown and developed?
Well, when I was a sort of a younger partner, it was the financial crash, the 2008-2009 period, and that was a challenge because we really had to sort of consolidate our human sort of resources, as it were. It made us look at the business though in a more analytical way, and actually really look at our efficiencies and where we were sort of wasting. We probably were wasting money on certain things, and in that sense, it was good for us, I think, just to take a fresh look at ourselves. And I do think the business benefited from that process. I don't know if that's the reason, but when COVID hit, we were in a position where we were very light on our feet, and we were able to very quickly, within days actually, send everybody home.
Brilliant.
To work from home, because we had all the IT infrastructure in place that enabled everyone to log in remotely, to do video calls like we're doing now, which now seems the norm, but it wasn't. It was 2.5 years ago, was it? So I think we've got more nimble and more light on our feet, probably from the financial crash. And actually, just as a result of that, just being a more modern and up-to-date business in terms of our IT and how we run ourselves generally. And that did, I think, stand us in good stead for when COVID hit us, I have to say.
Brilliant. Yes, I mean, it caught many businesses out, I think. And I remember speaking to one business that was right in the middle of the connecting, in effect, the laboratories with the NHS. That was what they did. So their business, I'm pretty sure, I think it was 9,000% growth in about 6 weeks. Or you could probably imagine. And I spoke to the MD, and he was just so relaxed. He's an amazing guy. But he said at that point, he was the only person in the organisation that had a laptop. So everyone else had desktop computers. So the whole logistical challenge of setting those up, just getting them home safe without damage.
It's a big job.
It really was, wasn't it?
It was a huge thing, but then actually now we're taking the benefit of this, because now we're just about to launch laptops for everybody, which we wouldn't have done that if COVID hadn't happened. And it's because people now work hybrid. And again, it's great. It's so much more family friendly for lots of our colleagues who can find different ways of working. That it's not the rigid 9-to-5 requirement. So these are the silver linings. You have to find silver linings, because these sort of tidal waves do keep hitting you sideways on, don't they, in business? And they always will. But there are silver linings in some of these things, and you have to find them.
I was told a long time ago that the job of being a business owner, a business leader, is to solve problems. That's part of the job, and therefore, we should be used to, get used to it or get out, sort of thing. But the other thing I've come to believe over time, Duncan, is that problems are typically a feature of growth, of success. Success creates its own problems. So if we've got a problem, it can be that great. If we have no problems,
Yes.
it's probably we're not changing
Yes.
and not growing.
Yeah, I
So
sort of
it's getting used to those things. I think is good.
I almost love a good problem to solve, and maybe I'm in the right job if I'm saying that, because I sort of like the opportunity. There's opportunities to be found as well as just sort of the exercise for your brain. You know, right? Solve the problem, and how can I make the best of this? And that's quite a fulfilling sort of thing to do, I think.
Absolutely. I was told some time ago as well that there is one of the Chinese dialects where the symbol for let's get it right, for problem has both challenge and opportunity. It's two parts, and it's it's almost a choice how you see a problem.
Yeah, it's almost like the SWOT analysis. I always think they're in pairs, aren't they? Strengths and weaknesses, and threats and opportunities. They're sort of two sides of the same thing, aren't they? Really.
Absolutely. And it's just, there is, whenever there's a problem. I mean, this is, and I work with lots of business all the way through the sort of COVID situation. Every problem creates its own opportunity. If we've got a problem as an industry, then all my competition have the same problem. So
you're all in the same boat there.
Absolutely. So the sooner I solve the problem, the probably I've got an opportunity to get ahead.
I think that's right. We've definitely got efficiencies now in the business that have come out of having to solve problems that were relating to COVID and working from home. Things like we used to have to sign a bill before it was sent to a client, so you print it off 3 times or something in the office, and it'd go around. Someone would have to take it. Office junior would take it somewhere else to a partner. We couldn't do that when we were all at home. We worked out you didn't have to do that when we checked the Law Society guidance. You can do it electronically. Brilliant. Now we do it electronically. It saves paper as well. Saves the planet, doesn't it? Saves time, more efficient. We weren't going to do that though. We weren't about to make that change. It's only because we were forced into it. But it's a good positive outcome, and that's one example of many things that we're now doing better as a result.
Brilliant. No, it's I mean, I think everyone sort of what probably would have taken 6 years, most people achieved in 6 months, 6 weeks probably.
So that catalyst for me in my job, where I'm often trying to get change through in the organization, change for the better, as I would see it, but there's often resistance to change. We know that's just human nature. COVID and things like that are a useful catalyst actually for moving things on at a pace. You have to, again, that's the other opportunity you have to find in these bad times. There are some benefits if you look for them.
100%, totally agree.
Yeah.
And I think you're aware we're a coaching organisation. I'm keen to know who, whether in business, sport, life in general, who is the best coach you've ever worked with?
Yeah, well, I've got various people spring to mind when you say that. Hopefully, everybody has these examples in their mind. That's what makes us what we are, isn't it? Really. Yes. And it's nice just to reflect on your scout leader and my music teacher at school. All those sorts of things all contribute to what makes you the adult that you are, isn't it? My piano teacher, when I was like age 7, one of my really good coaches, because she was a bit scary, old school piano teacher. Show me your nails before you sit down at the piano, or the piano forte, as she called it, all that sort of thing. But she taught me all the way through up to the end of when I was 18, from age of 7. And she taught me the importance of being organized and disciplined, of how preparation is key for a big event. In that case, it was the piano exam. And I really did learn a lot from her, not just about playing the piano, but about those general sort of concepts of preparation, organization, and discipline, which I think stood me in good stead, I've got to say. So she was brilliant. Then I've got to admit, probably my best coach is my wife, and I'm not being sort of funny saying that. The wisdom that I get from her is probably the main contributing factor to where I am today. Wonderful. So that's how I would put that. Yeah.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful to you.
Yeah.
And do you I think I sort of mentioned earlier, I love to pick up quotes and sayings. Are there any particular quotes or sayings that you use regularly in good times or bad?
Yeah, well, there's one, I don't know if this is a quote, but I must have heard it somewhere, which is, don't focus on the things that you can't change. Only focus on the things you can change. So if things are stressing you out, and I'm worried, and this does really work in the working environment, I'm worrying about the economy or inflation. I can't change a lot of this stuff though, can I? So I just say to myself and my colleagues that we've just got to focus on what we can do, so we are in the best place possible to deal with whatever it is that's coming down the line. And I do find that de-stresses me to think, no, I can control what's happening in Crombie Wilkinson, and that's all I can control. So that's all I'll worry about. and that does help me. So that's a big one for me, I've got to say. And I suppose the other one is, it's one of the, the 7 habits of highly effective people. They're all good anyway, aren't they? But I like certainly begin with the end in mind.
Yes.
And that helps me in terms of business planning, strategy planning, because otherwise there's a danger of just doing what's on your desk in front of you every day. And most of my colleagues do that because that's what they have to do. I'm in a different position, I think. So I'm trying to look ahead. Where are we trying to get to? What's the destination? Then we can start plotting the course.
Brilliant.
And that's something that I keep having to go back to, is begin with the end in mind. Where are we heading with this? And are we actually doing what we need to do to get to what we want to get to?
It's your first point. I think it was also Stephen Covey talked about circles.
Oh yes, circles of control.
That's
that's it. It's in the So it's probably basically a lot of what he says. Well, nearly everything is spot on, isn't it?
Yes. But it's I love the visual, because I think it's control here, circle of control, and then a wider one, circle of concern, and basically the gap between the two is the stress level. So so either, I think my learning was either increase. So there's 2 things: either increase control to cover concern, or reduce concern to cover control. But if we broaden it, then obviously things become more stressful. So thank you. No, that's a good memory jog.
Yeah, good.
So what would you say you've learned about yourself as you've progressed through your career?
When I look back, I'm very lucky to be able to say I've enjoyed every stage. So it's not like I'm only happy now that I'm the boss, It's not like I was waiting for this moment, suddenly everything's great. I really enjoyed it when I was a newly qualified solicitor, or even when I was a trainee, and all stages in between. So I think I've learned that I'm good at making the best of any situation and enjoying the moment for what it is. I think that is good, rather than waiting for this moment you may never see until you're happy. Sometimes people say, I'm going to work really hard in the city and then I'll retire and then I'll be happy. I think that's not a really good way of planning your life, personally. So I just think I'm lucky that I've learned that I am able to enjoy whatever it is I'm doing at any given time, if you can sort of find the best in things, really.
Great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And I think that's great, because it's a friend of mine, Philip Hesketh, talks a lot about being happy, and it is sometimes it's just it is focusing on being happy with where we are at any particular point in time, and as you say, seeing the benefits and enjoying it. So that's And so I guess looking forward, what for yourself and for Crombie's, what does the future look like, and what challenges do you face, if any?
Well, experience now tells me there's always going to be challenges, because I can look back over the last 20 odd years and think it wasn't plain sailing. So I'd be pretty daft to think it's now going to be plain sailing for the next 10 or 15 years. So there will be challenges, some of which I won't be able to predict. So I'll just have to wait and see what they are. But there are some challenges we're currently dealing with, the sort of the post-COVID world we're in, aren't we, I suppose. And I think we've pretty quickly accepted the hybrid situation of hybrid working. I mean, I like it, and I think it's good for staff. I think it's great for people's well-being. It's made us more able to be inclusive as to who works for us, because people who said, "Oh, I can't work 9 to 5, 5 days a week," well, now they can work for us in different ways, and that's brilliant for me, because you can get people who might not have otherwise have done that. So I think that's an opportunity more than a challenge, then, to be fair. The challenges are going to be the economic situation, and I can see that clients are going to be feeling the pinch if they're not already. That's just going to get worse as we move through this year and beyond. That's a concern, but again, if I can't control that, I've just got to make us the best that we can be as a business to deal with that. The employment situation is a bit of a challenge. We've got, we want to recruit and we want to grow, but we see other firms are also advertising for the same people that we're advertising for, and these posts aren't being filled very quickly. So there does seem to be a shortage in that sort of pool of people looking for employment. So that is a challenge for not just for us, actually, for other firms as well, by the look of it. It's just, how do you recruit and grow? It's not a quick and easy job now.
No, I'm seeing that right the way across industry and business. Duncan. It's finding, getting, new recruits is really challenging. I think that it was suggested to me that people want, there's a lot of people staying where they are, post COVID or through COVID for fear of what might happen, and that makes a lot of sense. But it's happening everywhere. The only thing I've said to many people is, it is about being more innovative in not just how we find them, but who we are, and making roles, as you're already doing yourself, making the business as attractive as
I think that's the trick, is that we're trying to be, we're attractive in the hybrid sort of flexible working arrangements. We want to be very transparent about career opportunities. So as I said, you don't have to be a solicitor. Not only that, we publish what you need to do to progress up to each level on our internet. It's not like some sort of mysterious sort of process that you wait for someone to give you a little tap on the shoulder and say, well done, you've been promoted. It's in quite a lot of detail on our internet.
Well,
so everyone can see it. They can decide if they can match themselves up to that criteria. So those are sorts of things I hope are attractive to people who are ambitious. All you can do again is make the best that you can of the organisation and hope people see that, I suppose.
Brilliant. I love that. I have to say, I remember my first job. The first job I ever had was very much a sort of dead man's shoes situation with progression. It was literally, you had to wait till the next person moved on. Moved on, and it was, it created sort of zero desire in, because it was just time served, and that doesn't make sense in my opinion. So that's great to hear, because it's Crombie's itself has been around for a long time, so it's great to see the progression that you've got. Said leading the world in.
Well, we'd like to be hopefully at the leading edge of these sort of modern law firms, really.
Wonderful.
And getting that message out there is part of the key, I suppose.
Yes. Yeah, I guess it really is, because people have their preconceptions, and it's about undermining those and making sure we create that positive image of who we are and what we do. And so just a few brief sort of questions as we sort of start to wrap up. What would you say, Duncan, to anyone that was thinking of going into business right now?
Well, it's not for everybody, I suppose, is it? And that's not a bad thing. I think it's very rewarding. Most of the time it's really great. It obviously can be stressful, and when we have these challenges, I mean the lockdown, for instance, in the first lockdown, very stressful time for any business owner, obviously. Is the business even going to survive? Those questions are really genuine questions. So that's the downside. But if you've got a passion for something, and you're creative and actually also organized and disciplined, I think you have to be both, and you've got the energy, then I think going into business is a great thing to do. I would say there's a lot of people out there who are going to be a lot better than you at a lot of different things, and you have to remember that. Even if you're the leader, you're not the best at everything, right? So a really good team around you is the key to success. You're not going to do it on your own, I don't think. Not many people will. And you just have to acknowledge that. And so it's good to, I think, be generous about giving people chances and opportunities so they can develop as people. They will reward you for that, I think.
Yeah.
But be generous about how you share things around and get everyone playing to their strengths. And I think that's the way to be successful in business.
Love it. Absolutely. I think Branson talks a lot about that, about employing people that are better than him in the areas that he wants them to be operating, which is very sensible. Our job is to lead a team, not to be best in each.
I love thinking, no, you're brilliant at that. I could never do that, and somebody else is brilliant at something else, and I couldn't do that either. And as a whole, that's amazing, isn't it?
Absolutely. Wonderful. And if you were to start again, is there anything you would do differently yourself?
Well, in some ways, I've got to admit, I didn't start the business, so I was lucky to join an existing business, which had been around for many decades. So I can't claim that success anyway, or credit for that. What would I do differently? I mean, certainly, I think I probably, it's this building this team around you and recognizing at an earlier age how important it is to get the right people in the right places. Because as soon as you've got that, you're really firing on all cylinders then. And I think probably I could be quicker off the mark on that if I did it a second time around.
Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
The team is the key. I think.
Great. I could absolutely concur. I think, you know, great businesses are built on great teams of people, and but need a great leader. So, it all fits together.
Yeah.
And finally, what would be the best advice you could give to an 18-year-old you if you're able to go back in time and do so?
I was quite shy when I was younger, and I probably worried too much about what other people would think if I said something or, you know, expressed an opinion. And I think in the older you get, you realize everyone's got insecurities, really, haven't they? And people do try and hide them, but really everyone is pretty much the same underneath. And I don't think I realized that. It'd be nice if I could just chill a little bit more when I was 18 and just relax a bit more about that. So I'd like to try and give myself a bit of advice, but I would still say, do the music degree that you did. That was a good decision, because I was worried about doing that at the time. No, do what you really like and what you're good at that age.
Yep.
And things will sort of follow from that naturally. So I would just encourage myself to carry on doing what I thought, which was do your music degree, do what you love, and then you can think of a sensible job after you've done that. So I would give myself the thumbs up for that, but try not to worry too much.
Brilliant. Love it. Well, thank you so much for your time this morning, Duncan. And it'd be great to maybe swing back in a year or two's time and just see how things are going.
Absolutely.
And you know, very much keen, and it's great to see, having obviously been involved with Crombie Wilkinson previously, that it's in a great has a great pair of hands at the tiller. So
very kind of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you as well. Thank you very much.
Thanks.